Hey there, YouTube! Welcome on back to Artichoke Dip. My name is Rob, Solo Tabletop Gamer. So here it is. We are November 1, Sunday. Halloween is behind us, which means the rest of the year is going to fly by so quick. But before I get into this, if you liked the video, click the like button. And if you haven't subscribed, please click that subscribe button, followed by the bell icon every time I upload a new video. You will get a notification so you don't miss one. So, what I wanted to get into is talk about what game system am I going to get into next. And I want to thank all of you that helped participate in this, those people that voted, and I did reach out to them and gave them confirmation of it. Thank you so much. And for the rest of you that wrote in what games you wanted to see that weren't even on the list, thank you. It's taken into consideration. Some of them I don't even know. So, but hey, thank you anyways. So let's go through the list and let's see what we're going to be playing next. So, D&D First Edition, or AD&D if you will, had 2 votes. 2 people would like to see that play. RuneQuest had a total of 4. Blades in the Dark, 2. Palladium Fantasy, 2 votes for that. Rifts, 1 vote. D&D 5th Edition, 1 vote. And then Basic D&D, 1 vote. So it's looking like, based on everything, I will be getting into RuneQuest. It's a very, very cool system. And I'm kind of excited to do some playthroughs and show you this. If you've never gotten into RuneQuest, the thing I love about this system the most is, unlike a lot of other RPGs out there too, where you have a class, you have a template that you have to adhere to, if you will, RuneQuest, you don't have that. Your character develops based on how successful you are at, well, resolving whether it's combat, magic, or whatever habit in the world on your abilities. And every time you have a successful hit, which you could use an example such as like a critical hit in the D20 system, but in this system it goes from a 96%. I would have to read that. I thought it was a 96 or 97% up to 100%. At that point, you re-roll your percentage die, and there's another, I thought it was like 30% or below. It's been a while. I'm going to have to touch up on the rules myself because it's been a while since I played this. But anyways, if you hit that roll and you're successful, you increase that ability. So depending on how you play your character is how they develop in this world, and they advance, which is really cool. It's refreshing to be able to have a game system like that, to where you're not basically boxed into a particular class that you have to play and have those limitations, or only those specific, if you will, bonuses for that particular class, whereas in this game you don't have that. But in the future we will get into that. So thank you so much again, guys, for helping out with that. And like I said, I have a huge amount. I got a huge library of books that I can pull from and I can play. But if I could do something that you guys enjoy, that you guys may be interested in, or perhaps maybe it's a game system you're just kind of like, should I get it? Should I get it? Yeah, no, let's watch Artichoke Dip play it and see if I want to play it or not. That's totally cool too. But thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. All you guys have been out there from the beginning when I started this channel up, and my subscribers that have been there through the times. Game on, my friends. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. And for new subscribers, welcome aboard so much. I'm glad to have you. And man, but the quest carries on. I'm going to leave a link to my Facebook page in the description, and at that point you guys can go over there and you can find more resources for solo RPG playing, particularly if you're new to this and you're looking for some resources, maybe some tips and tricks. You can head on over there. People over there, great people. They post all kinds of stuff that they play on, ideas that they're using, different systems. I mean, there's systems there that I'm not even aware of yet that other people have found and that they share, and it's just a great resource to pull upon. So, with that out of the way, one other thing, as you can tell in the background here, the overall theme being ruins, I want to talk about another game that has ruins in it, and I may do a playthrough with this. It would be kind of long to do, or maybe I'll do a tutorial of how to play it. I haven't decided yet, but what I want to talk about is, so besides RPGs, just doing RPG games, I also enjoy solo board games too, as well. A lot of dungeon crawlers, things like Gloomhaven, the D&D series, such as Temple of Elemental Evil, The Legend of Drizzt, The Wrath of Asherland, Castle of Ravenloft, HeroScape, Hero Quest. I mean, the list goes on. But one of them that I bought, and when I first got this game, and that game is Runebound. And when I first got this game, there was like no solo, nothing for it. So I'd gone through and read the rules, and pretty much I just played the game. I tweaked a few things where I could make it possible to run the game. But the one thing I have to admit, and it was funny until the solo variant of this came out, which is called Unbreakable Bonds. And I'm going to get into that here in a minute. To where in there they're talking about how the original game could be played solo. But the problem is a lot of players tend to be kind of biased towards their own characters and kind of cheat a little bit. Whereas with this system that they came out, there's no getting around it. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. But let's talk about what Runebound is. So this is a game I had picked up a couple years back, and I have to admit, man, I love this game. It's been about a year since I played it, and I decided to take a nice long weekend. So I came home Thursday night and really didn't want to get into an RPG. It's just not feeling it, but I wanted to still game. I wanted to play a game. So I said, okay, I'm going to go and dig through the library there, and I'm going to find something. And I took out Runebound, and man, I had so much fun. I had just a blast playing this, and I was like, yeah, I need to do this more often because I remember why I love this so much. So let's talk about this a little bit. What Runebound is and what Runebound isn't. So with Runebound, of course, you get your minis like you will with any type of game, but overall, it is, in fact, a board game. But it's a board game that plays like a very light RPG game. You get a very cool map that comes with this. And of course, like any of these type of board games, you just have the endless amounts of tokens and everything else that goes along with it. But all in all, it's not that bad. Few things that I found that I have substituted out that seem to work better for me is, instead of using their life point tokens that they give you here, as you can see, let me, if I can hold them up, there we go, you can kind of see it there in the camera for a moment. They're just like these little cardboard heart things that you're supposed to put on there that have a numerical value to them. Problem is, they kind of get scattered all over the place and you're constantly chasing them, so I just did away with those and I used dice. And found that that works just excellent for what you got to do. But besides that, everything else I utilize in the game. The game is fairly it's a board game, but it plays like an RPG game. It does have RPG elements to it, which is what I like. You go through, and at that point, you pick out your character sheet. And once you pick out your character sheet, it tells you how to set them up. It tells you what you start out with, beginning gear, basically. And these are my scenarios. Wow, I must have left those out. Anyways, so it tells you your beginning stats, what you start with, what your character gets. And then after you pick your characters out, you go through these and you pick out a scenario card. The scenario basically describes the bad guy on it. And with the expansion that I got here, there's no shortage of what I can do with this. I got caught in the web, searching for the cure, the Ascension of Margath, which is the original one to this game, fighting the Horde, and the Corpse King. Each one is unique unto itself, and the fact that each and every single scenario that you pick out of there, you also take your cards that are broken up into 3 different symbols, if you will, that correspond to tokens on the board. Those being something like this, which looks like 2 weapons crossed, which is your battle. This one like this, which looks like basically like a little letter, if you will, which is a quest. And then of course you get this one, which is a torch, if you will. Let me see if you can, I don't know if you can see that. Anyways, it looks like a torch, and there's 3 different symbols upon the board. So you choose those symbols as you move around. I'll open up the board to show you here for an example. So if you look on the board, you can see, like right here, you have this little symbol right here, and there would be a cardboard token on there. You'd move your character onto it, and you would pick up that, take that token off the board, draw a card, and you would resolve that card. Some of them can be quite easy, some of them can be quests that'll take you to all the way to the other side of the board from where you're at, and others can be just very simple to do, as simple as going to a location, rolling your terrain die, and resolving it. And at other times, it can be pretty fierce encounters that take you down. So you never know what you're going to get. Now, besides that, you also have your characters, which, man, I love the aspect of this game. So you choose your character, and everything in the game, if you want to think about it like an ability check or saving throw, what have you, they use what they call skill cards, which are these guys right here. And you would draw as many against your ability, and you've got 3 abilities, which is Strength, Insight, and Spirit. And if you're successful, you pass. If not, well, there's a penalty to pay. You could lose cards, you could have to discard something, you may lose a piece of equipment. It goes on, depending on the scenario. But the cool thing is, getting back to what I originally said, with those little symbol coins that you pick up off the board as you move around and collect them, each skill card has a specific ability that your character can use that will empower your character. And you have to purchase those by collecting what they call trophies. As you complete them tokens on the board, you can purchase them skills and now put them in your hand and play them. So, let's sum up what the game is. The game is, you choose your character, you move across this world, you're in search of treasure, fighting hordes of hideous creatures, going on quests, all at that with this going on, and you're also trying to defeat the evil which is permeating the land of Terranoth and trying to drive it back and save the day before the time runs out. It's a fun game. Now, when I say before the time runs out, the thing I do like about this game, it kind of, well, unlike a lot of other games to where you're not timed, this game, however, you are. And on the game board, as you can see right here, is a time tracker. You're given a token that starts out here. Now, each turn that you take, you get 3 actions that you can do whatever you want with them. You can move and explore. You can heal your character. You can go into town and trade, sell, what have you, rest. You can also decide to land on one of these various tokens here and complete that. It's all up to you. You get 3 actions, per turn. After you are done, and any other players that are playing with you at that time, the round ends. Once the round ends, the turn marker advances 1, and you resolve whatever that symbol is that it has to show. As for an example, the first one would be the encounter deck. The encounter deck would correspond to the overall scenario that you chose from the beginning of the game. That I like. The fact that even though when you first start out and you look and you're like, I have all this time, the time goes pretty quickly, particularly when I get into this with the solo variant that they put in there for Unbreakable Bonds, which, oh man, it is good. So, let's talk about that a little bit, and let's get into that. So, when they released Unbreakable Bonds, and the way that they explain it in this rule book, is they say, well, and it's kind of true. I agree with what they say. They said, if you play solo, you have a tendency to want to be biased towards your characters, and maybe you wouldn't be as hard on your characters as if you were playing in a large group of people and you were playing the bad guy against somebody competing against you. And I can see that. There's some merit to that. So the solo variant that they came out with this game, and I'm just going to be talking about the solo variant, there's also different rules that go with this expansion for group play as well if you're playing with a group of people. But considering my channel is all about solo RPGs and solo gaming, I kind of think that's relevant here at this time. But as you engage in encounters in this board game and in the world of Terranoth, they are broken up into 4 different subclasses, if you will, how they catalog them. And you have the Mystic, the Warrior, the Savage, and the Trickster. Now, with these cards that they give you, as you can see, you got these symbols. And I guess I should say one thing about this game, when you first get into it, you're going to notice there is no... everything's symbols. You got to get used to seeing symbols, and you got to get used to... Once you get used to it, and it doesn't take long, it's pretty simple, and it moves very quickly. But yeah, at first it can be a little aggravating getting used to all these symbols. But as you can see with this card here, so as you take out your tokens and you roll the tokens for your encounter, you put them tokens on these slots, and at that point you resolve them going down this tree. Now you may be looking at that saying, well, that doesn't look all that bad, that can't be all that challenging. Well, in fact it is, because each card gets its own set of tokens, and with all of them they get pretty rude pretty quick. As a matter of fact, the last scenario that I played, and one of the encounters was a dark elf, and the dark elf being a trickster, and the ability of having that ability to be able to, well, either flip one of its tokens over for its advantage, whether it be attack or to add a surge power or whatever, is it can also use it to take your highest damaging weapon and recast that to the other side, which only winds up hurting you even more. Make a long story short, I did win the scenario, but my character made it by one single hit point, and considering I had a lot of gear and you start out with 3 tokens that you cast, and when I had an encounter with this dark elf, I had 7 tokens, so, and all these extra abilities with my skills, and it's still just pretty much, yeah. Yeah, I thought I was going to lose, but I did win the game. I have to admit, I did win the game. I didn't think I was going to, but I did, and it was just like, I had that moment where it's like, you know, if you've ever played wargaming, miniature skirmish, stuff like that, to where it gets down to the wire, and it's literally the luck of the die. You're just sitting there hoping everything goes exactly the way that you want it to. Yeah, you'll recapture a lot of that feelings with this system right here. So, excellent system. I loved it. I still love this game, and I'm going to set it up and I'm going to play another one through before I put it back on the shelf and get into my RPG here. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this board game, what it is and what it isn't, and what it could potentially be good for. Now, as I said, when you get into this game, you get the booklet that tells you to learn how to play, and when you read through it, at first you look at it and it can seem extremely overwhelming. Well, let me just tell you, its bark is worse than its bite. It really is. It's a simple game system to pick up, and before you know it, you're going right through the stuff very quickly. The cool thing I love about Fantasy Flight games is that they also do give you a rules reference book, and you can quickly turn it over to the back and you're able to reference what all the symbols mean, just to help things, the game, pick up and go through a lot quicker for you. So that is a very, very, very cool. I like that. I like that about Fantasy Flight games. And then, of course, Runebound, the expansion that I bought, which I was glad I didn't get caught in the web, because that was an expansion that they had out for a while, and I was going to pick it up, and then they did away with it. But then when they came out with Unbreakable Bonds, once you get this expansion, you also get caught in the web with it free as well. Well, I'm not free, you're paying for it, but you get it, you know, understand what I'm saying. Now, cool thing about Runebound and what I like about it. So if you've maybe played a little bit RPG solo, maybe some basic fantasy, maybe 3 Against Darkness, Fabled Lands, stuff like that. Maybe you haven't played too many tactical type board games, dungeon crawler board games, stuff like that. This is a good one to start out on. It's now, of course, you got the initial cost of the main core set itself, and then the expansion on Unbreakable Bonds to play it solo. I get that. I would hope maybe going forward in the future, maybe they'll just put those 2 systems together in one box and release it as one system. But we'll see. But anyways, what it is and what it's not. So what's cool about it is it does play sort of like an RPG game, for the fact that you get your character, and through the decisions that you make, acquiring gear, trading, questing, battle, all these other things that you have to make decisions on, makes it feel like an RPG game, for the fact that you can really at that point add skills and things to empower your character and make it detailed to what you want within the game. which is cool. I like that. The other thing I like about Runebound is you can play it with a group of people. Um, Maybe some people that just don't get into RPG games. There's people out there that look at an RPG game and they say, no, it's too difficult. I don't understand it. I I don't want to learn anything about it. I don't. It's too many rules. It's too rules heavy. There's these people that have all these misconceptions about RPG games and what they are or are not. And Ruinbound is a great introduction for people to what RPG games are, as far as the layout of the board, moving in between the cities, giving them the option to be able to start out with the characters who have limited resources, and then they have to work and make decisions. Well, as you would with any type of game, you're gonna have to make a decision hoping it pays off and that the payoff is worth it. And then at that point, advancing through the story. And while this is all going on, you are racing against a timer on the board that's constantly moving every turn. Because at this point, you have the main arch bad guy that you have to deal with before the time runs out. So for a lot of people just getting into gaming, it's a cool place to introduce them to it. It's where they can sit down, they get that element of miniature skirmish, because you have, well, I'm not going to really say miniature skirmish, but some of the fundamentals of using miniatures as far as moving them on the board, for the fact that you do get the terrain dice that you have to roll, you have to correspond that to what's around you, and sometimes you have to think stuff out and say, okay, I want to get over here, but unfortunately the terrain dice are not going to let me do that. So I may only be able to move one hex this turn. I may have to burn up another turn, hoping that the terrain dice are going to give me what I need to be able to get this done. So it teaches them that aspect of it, as well as being immersed in this rich world of Terranoth. There's just a lot to it. It's, man, I could sit here and I could go on for hours about this, but I'm not. So Ruinbound is a great game system, and it's one I haven't played in a while. It's been over a year. I pulled it off the shelf. I played it, and I was like, I now remember why I bought this thing. This is an awesome game. And I just wanted to share that with you guys out there. So perhaps you're maybe looking for something different. Maybe you're kind of like, I don't know if I want an RPG tonight. I want a game, but I don't want to go full bore RPG. Or, hey, I got a friend coming over, but trying to get them into an RPG and get everything up off the ground and running and hoping they have a decent experience at it, and you may be limited on time. Ruinbound is a great thing you can pull out. It plays like an RPG. The rules are very simple, so it'd be very easy, the fact that the way that it plays cooperatively, to be able to show them the rules while you play and have fun. And it's a great introduction into fantasy role-playing game systems and the fantasy role-playing genre as it is. And man, I have to say, when it comes to Fantasy Flight games, Ruinbound, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, and when I say this and I put it out there because it's what I enjoy, everybody likes something different. My opinion, Fantasy Flight games really knocked it out of the park with Runebound. They really did. It's an excellent game, and I enjoy it. It has a lot of replayability to it. It's an investment. Once you pick it up, you're going to find that every time you play, the scenario is completely different. It's not going to run the same. Well, let me back up. The overall game mechanics is going to run the same. But depending on the decisions and the way that the tokens fall in the game system, is always constantly going to change. So every time you play it, it's going to be like a new game, and it's going to have the feel of a new game. And sometimes you're going to have those little battles you're going to win, where you're going to have the little victories where you're like, yeah. And other times you're going to meet, well, like I said, like me with the Dark Elf that comes in, and within one turn, you're down to 1 hit point. So, with all that being said, my friends, you look forward to the RPG system that I'm going to be playing, Ruin Quest, and I'm going to jump back into a game of Runebound. I may or may not, I guess I'm going to have to see how it goes. And I believe I already made a video on this. I'm going to have to look back through my home video archive and see. But I thought I had already made a video, but if it's something you guys would like to see, heck, I'm up for it, and we'll go from there. Now, I do want to say one last thing before I end this video off, is, so, depending on what part of the world you're watching this in, and thank you so much, all of the, I love it when people send me a message and they say, hey, cheers from Ireland, cheers from Scotland, cheers from Great Britain, and everywhere else across the world. That puts a smile on my face. I love that when you guys do that, and it's really, really cool. But what I'm going to say, we're coming up on the elections. There's a lot of, man, there's so much turmoil right now going on. And so I think I'm going to wait till that's over and out of the way, because I think everybody's going to be just preoccupied with that and what's going on. And hey, I get it. You know, there's just so much crap going on today with the virus, the election. I mean, there's days that I wake up and I think, what's next? It's got to be aliens. It's the only thing it can be. The aliens have got to land, and I don't know. So anyways, with that being said, after the election is over with and done, I'm going to start focusing on the new RPG system and getting that done and out there. So, alright, my friends, if you've enjoyed the video, click the like button, and if you haven't subscribed, click that subscribe button below, followed by the bell icon. Every time I upload a new video, you will get a notification in your little bell on your YouTube face page saying this ugly mug uploaded a brand new video. Alright, my friends, with that being said, this is Artichoke Dip, signing off.